What's good, YouTube? We back at it. I'm over here for an exclusive interview with Gerie Adamson of 100 Miles Clothing, the classic clothing on such acts as Tupac, Biggie Smalls, Wu-Tang, the boy Drizzy Drake, everybody. Like, subscribe. It's about to go down. Let's go. You say it's a steady day today. It's not a.
Yeah, it's steady.
What's a crazy day like?
Our events. Like when we do an event, like we say we're doing something.
Right.
That's when it's crazy because it's like there's so many elements that we bring in, like the DJ or the DJs, the food, the liquor, the weed, and then the people come.
Yeah.
And then the people come. So that's like the crazy days when we like put out the voice that like, yo, it's this day that we're doing this or releasing this. That's when it gets crazy.
And we're over here in the beaches now, right? Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, I'm already recording.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I kind of just flow right into it.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We're in the beaches, like it's like a nice vibe over here, right?
Real.
And you know, before we even get into the different locations that you were in like more downtown, more central locations.
Yeah.
What's the kind of vibe with the demographic that's out here? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you seeing less hood type characters and stuff like that? You know,
Totally.
no riffraffs walking off the road, Fenty heads.
Yeah. This is like, just put it, Range Rovers, Porsches, Bentleys, Ferraris,
Nice.
antique cars, like, you know, houses 3 million to 6 million.
Jeez.
Like, you know, it's a different demographics. Totally. Totally.
Yeah, man. So listen, I have the pleasure to be sitting in the store here and with a legendary gentleman with a legendary clothing line, right? For the people who can see, like I have, like in the frame of the camera, for the people who are watching on YouTube, you may see a cutout Tupac next to a cutout Drake, right? And let me just spin the camera here so you can see some of the brands here. There's some baby gear in the back here. Holy, the expansion is real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And check this side. We got the ladies stuff. So it's like we got the kids stuff. Everybody's having, you know, families and part of a family. So we had to just extend it, you know what I mean? And keep, as we call it, 100. And keep it 100 and like keep it full circle on everything. So kids, women, unisex to men's stuff, we got it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of keeping it 100, right? With no further ado, we have the founder of a 30-year legendary clothing line that has been seen on the likes of mans like the people you see in the cutouts, Drake, Tupac, Wu-Tang Clan. They had the Redman vests worn by Redman, aka Reggie Noble. You know what I'm saying? I can't even say, you know, to introduce this gentleman, what rappers his clothes were on. We got to say, like, who weren't your clothing on at this point, right?
Right.
But,
yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we just got to now just fill in the blanks of who else just hasn't tapped in yet and they're just sleeping. They missed the boat.
Yeah.
But with no further ado, we have the founder of 100 Miles Clothing, Big G, a.k.a. Gerie Adamson in the building. Yo, man.
Salute Friday Ricky Dred, man.
Yo, thank you for having me over here, bro.
Mad love and respect. Mad love and respect.
So, okay, we're at the new store, right? 30 years. You opened the store 30 years to the day where you opened your first location over at 672 Yonge Street.
Wow, he's done his research.
All right. Tell me about the opening of this store and the feeling of opening the store 30 years later?
Opening this store was most humbling thing I've experienced yet in this whole career of mine. My family was here. A lot of my all the people that come through this store is my family. So seeing all the people that came down, like just really overwhelming and humbling, you know what I mean, at the same time. And it just lets you know how gracious you are for life and the people that embrace, you know, something that you're doing. So the best word for me is humbling. You know what I mean? And just thanking God every day for just being this person, you know what I mean, 30 years later, and seeing like the growth that the business and the brand has, you know, evolved with. It's been, you know, such a feat within itself. Whereas when I was young, I didn't really see 30 years down the line at all, or envision that 100 miles that I created back then would be this brand that it is now.
Legacy.
Yeah.
So let's go back a bit. All right. You grew up in Scarborough, went to Lester B. Pearson Collegiate.
Yeah.
Tell me about life growing up in the boroughs.
Life growing up in the boroughs, they call us the boonies back then. So Malvern, being from the Vern, like there was no respect for being from Malvern. So, and even saying you're from Scarborough, right? And so for me, I was like just so different on my vibe and approach to it. I felt like that was an honor. That was my pride. Like, yo, this is where I represent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is where I'm from. So I kind of went with that energy, like in everything that we've transcended to now. You know what I mean? And still representing Scarborough, Malvern, and the whole East Side. So,
you know, like Malvern has a reputation now, right? It's like a grimy spot.
Yeah.
So you said it was the boonies back then. They didn't have that reputation back then?
I think back then we always had that reputation.
Okay.
It was a very tough area to come up in. Like it is what it is, right? And for me, coming from, you know, West Indian family, strict mom, very strict mom that, you know, didn't allow us to get really caught up. You know, to know it, but don't get too involved. Whereas you can't see yourself. So you know what I'm saying? We were able to maneuver through it, and you know, here we are again.
Yeah. And in 1991, when you started college, is when you decided to get into the clothing stuff, right?
Yeah.
So actually, I think I knew already what college you went to, but I freaking forgot. But you went to Ryerson.
Yeah, Ryerson.
So at the time when you were in Ryerson, like what inspired you to get into the clothing in the first place?
Actually, I was in a lecture. I'll be honest with you. I was in a lecture, and professor said to us in the lecture, like, you guys need to get started on what you want to do now with your life. Like, don't be waiting till you're, you know, finished this, you know, lecture or this course to really see what you want to do with your life. You better start doing it now. And it was like deep, where I was like kind of puzzled at what this man was saying to me. And then it kind of dawned on me at the same time, like, yo, I gotta like do something what manifests me. And then this whole energy came out of that lecture.
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
Yeah. And so you decided to like, were you starting to take courses, or like did you change your direction in college at that point?
No, I was studying business, and then I looked at it like, yo, I ain't got no money for next year's tuition.
Yeah.
I need to find a way to make money, right? Because it was expensive now as it was then, right?
Yeah.
And I saw it as, all right, let me get into clothing, because of a former mate of mine, an ex-girlfriend of mine. She used to sew, right? And we had a business together. So from high school, I was in the clothing business. Right. And we happened to part ways. And because I formulated the business, I was a bit screw, let's just say. That, you know, I was kind of outed out of my own business. That never ever happened to me. I got outed. So I took this as a revenge. I'm going to make something better.
Yeah.
And hence, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is now.
So, you get the spark in your brain. You know what? I'm gonna make something better. You're moving around from Scarborough all the way down to Ryerson.
Yeah, downtown.
Right? And then the TTC strike hits.
Yeah.
You gotta drive.
Yeah.
You're in traffic.
Yeah.
You stop. You're stopped up and
right
you see.
Right after that lecture.
Right after that lecture?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like right after that lecture, yeah.
And you see the 100 miles or 100 kilometers sign.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Take us from there.
Then I'm stuck in traffic for over like an hour or more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in front of this sign. And it's like 100 kilometers. I'm like, 100 kilometers. And then I'm looking at the cars and I'm like, yo, we're not going nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this seems like life, right? Like, this is life. You know what I mean? And then it just like Newton, this idea came to me, like 100 miles is like the rate in which people are, like, we're going.
Yeah.
And then this whole concept came to me, whereas 100 miles symbolizes us as people.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we've come 100 miles in life, but we still got 100 miles to go.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's war, oppression, now it's pandemics,
Mm-hmm.
right? Racism, sexism, you name it. We've all come 100 miles, but we still got 100 miles to go.
Yeah.
And then, looking at the cars at the time, like how we were all winded on the DVP, I'm like, yo, this is just like how the human race is. We're just all running to get somewhere and, coming from somewhere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, it just represents us as people.
Yeah.
And then we used to make 100 of everything in hand numbers.
Limited edition.
Yeah, 1 to 100. So anybody now that's saying that they started that, we were doing that from
91.
91.
So even like, okay, you're wearing the hat right now.
Yeah.
And that's not the signature logo. That's like the Evolve logo.
This is the signature. The Evolve logo is this. So
okay.
So this is like where we started, and this was just one of our designs. And
okay,
I'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
This was not my favorite design at all.
Okay, why not?
Right? I didn't like it. I just didn't like it at the time. And so, so many artists were coming to us and they approached me about the movie, and even the movie I was kind of ignoring because I was talking to EPMD. I remember, like every day, Eric and Perry shout outs, and I'm talking to who I'm like, I was like fan struck. Like, as much as I'm with these artists, I'm still like a fan listening to their music and can't believing that like I'm in the moment where I'm talking to the people that I admire so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So every minute that I could get, I'm politicking, you know what I mean? And just like keeping it real, right? Like Eric was always telling me, yo, you got to make big sizes, big for big guys. That's why now you see us with 3X, 4X, 5X, because we saw that from, the early reasonings with Eric and Parrish. Like a lot of times when we were sending them gear, they were like, yo, G, you got to make it bigger.
Shit can't fit.
You got to make it down here. We're a little bit smaller. So, at that time, it was just like something I didn't like. And then it was a way for me to get rid of it. So that's how we sent it to the movie.
and that's the Above the Rim movie.
Yeah.
We'll put that on the Pinterest for a second.
Yeah.
But because I want to get a full Above the Rim talk.
Okay. Okay.
But in the beginning of the clothing line, the first people that you got into the clothing before talking to EPMD and all that, it's Kid and Play?
Yeah.
Holy!
Yeah, shout out Kid.
Rolling.
Yeah, high tops.
Tell me about the first and one thing I'm going to tell you also, Kid and Play is the perfect first meeting because Play is heavily into the fashion, and he was dressing them back in the days.
Yeah.
So tell me about meeting Kid and Play and where it went from there.
Yeah, it was downtown. It was a big limo. I remember one of my homies from school was rolling with them. He pulled in the window and said, "Yo, G," right? And then, I remember I just made my very first shirt. So it was the very first night I even had the shirt.
Yeah.
And my homies in the East is like, yo, that ain't going nowhere. That what you doing ain't going nowhere. Try to come with us in this rap group we're trying to create. And I'm like, I can't rap. And hence I ain't no front man. So I got to do this. You know what I mean? Regardless of what y'all say, this is me.
Yeah.
This is what I'm gonna rock with. So kind of went down there on a low vibe, not feeling good. Cause my homies are telling me like, yo, your 100 miles idea ain't going nowhere.
Niggas, yo.
Yeah. And so with that said, you know, I see my next homie saying, yo, G, and shout me out and saying, come here, I'm with Kid and Play.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember, Kid and Play? And then I go like, yo, here, this is a gift from me. Like there's my first, and I remember them looking at the shirt, then looking at me, and then looking at the shirt. My homeboy's like, yo, thanks. And like, he just put away his. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, yo, this is dope. And I was like, for real? And they're like, yo, this is dope. Take my number. Call me. You come stay with us in our crib. And like, from there, they're the ones that really hooked me up. And
that's crazy.
Know a lot of the different artists that, you know, I'm, you know, blessed to now know. And labels like the late, great Andre Harrell, you know, rocking with Uptown Records with Sybil Penix and them. That was like crazy, like Jodeci and Diddy and Mary and
late great Heavy D.
Yeah, Heavy D. Oh, shout out late great Heavy D and the boys. Father MC. You know what I'm saying? Like that's Faith Evans. That's where we're from.
Yeah. So that's your earliest.
Yeah. Like,
I guess placements with artists, right?
Yeah, that's because of Kid and Play. They put us on a lot.
Yeah, so then as the time started going on, you started getting into the earlier 90s and stuff like that, late 80s. You know, people like Redman and all these guys started coming on the scene. And this hip-hop scene started getting a little bit more grimy and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you had the Redman vest.
Yes.
Prior to Redman actually wearing the Redman vest.
Yeah.
So tell me the inspiration for the Redman vest.
Redman, funny... EPMD, the hit squad. So Redman's not even known at this time, and they're like, like I said, we were always on the phone.
He was their DJ at that point.
Yeah, and so they say to me, "Yo, G, why don't you bring up Redman? Do autograph signing with Redman and have him like in your stuff." And I'm like, you know, at the time we didn't have the budget to bring him to the city, but we were able to send merch. So I was like, yo, I'll hook them up. So if you came to our store back then, we had shirts with like EPMD, all autograph signed, Redman, like autograph signed. And people didn't even know who these guys were.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're now like, there's this hip hop like channel in the city where we got a big, loud booming box and we're playing like hardcore hip hop in downtown Toronto. You know what I mean? And playing it like so loud that like, you trying to sleep, you ain't sleeping. You know what I mean? Like a double, 18s at the time? Like it was like booming. Yeah, man. We were making
you guys
noise.
Are like a flooding the block with sound, eh?
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, that's how we were with hip hop and artists that we banged with. We like, there's so many artists that their music we helped popularize. You know what I'm saying? Through our store and through getting, you know, their early releases.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of early jumps and a lot of artists because the labels at that time had to, you know, find ways in which to market the artists or advertise the artists. And so our store being hip hop, we just loved it and embraced it. That like every single label from Universal to Sony to BMG was here, giving us the music. And you know, we had like Snoop. Like I remember bumping Snoop before Snoop Blue, you know what I'm saying? Like Mary J. Blige albums, we had those before like Mary became Mary. You know what I'm saying? And so many Buckshot and them, you know, EPMD, like there's so many names that we can say that we've helped or we've orchestrated in them being known in Toronto or in the music.
Yeah, because there was no social media back then or any of that stuff. So whoever has it early, you're the only one, right? Somebody has to dub the tape from you to get it. Right? Yes. Okay, and let me freeze there for a second. For the babies out there, dub the tape. That means an analog cassette tape, all right? You hear me? And you got to put some little pieces of tissue inside of the tops of the tape so that you can now put more stuff on the tape, okay?
Yes, real shit.
You're blessed, okay? You're okay now, guys.
Yeah, real shit.
You can just stream.
Yeah, it's now streaming.
Yeah. So back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the backpack feature that you had on that too, man.
The backpack feature was just like we were going to school, somewhere to put your books. We're a conceptual brand, and we just always try to be different.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying, and do something different. You know, that's like always been our goal in clothing, is to make a difference and make it for everyone. And so that was for like the kids going to school, or the record collectors, or the, you know what I'm saying? The DJs, that you could put your stuff without having to be carrying a backpack. You would just have a pack on your vest.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was like one of our original creations that, it's crazy that, when you look back at it, it was just, cool how we came up with it.
Yeah, just mad inspiration.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So even like all this inspiration that you're having, and you're like, okay, I want to do this, I want to try this, all these different concepts, embroideries and the insides of stuff and all that. Just manufacturing, you got to get that done. So tell me how you started getting that. I hope y'all are enjoying this interview, but I want to take a quick second to give a big shout out to our sponsors right here. Big salute to Astro Pink, always keeping us nice, always keeping us toasty with the best flour, best edibles in the market, the highest levels of THC that you can get over here in Toronto, and they deliver all over the city. Hit them up on their Instagram, astro_pink, all correctly spelled, or you can hit up their website for a massive selection of all their flowers and edibles and tinctures of anything that you need. That's My Astro Pink on their website. Again, that's myastropink.com. Astro Pink, thank you for sponsoring this episode. Let's go. That piece connected.
Manufacturing in the beginning, the very first person that really took me serious was another guy named Gerie.
Okay.
And when I remember going to a lot of different like manufacturers or suppliers, and them laughing at me and saying, who's this young black guy here? He has nerve coming in there. Some of them, like, it is what it is, just kind of slammed the door in my face.
Wow.
Yeah, and so whether I had money or not, you know what I'm saying? And so this gentleman in Scarborough saw my vision, and I said, look, I need to make some shirts. I want to, come out with this clothing line. And he's like, okay, it's going to cost you this. Just make sure you have this money. And I don't know how I found the money, but I found the money. And I gave him for my very first shirts. They were red and blue.
Nice.
I remember giving one to Chub Rock. Yeah, Chub Rock,
1990, Chub Rock steps up on the scene with a lean and a pocket full of green.
Yeah, it was Chub Rock, Cypress Hill.
Holy.
Black Moon, Fushnikins, and the UMCs.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken, that was the concert. And I remember Chubb didn't like Cypress Hill because they bought the weed, and Cypress Hill was up to me, yo, you got any weed? And I'm like, yo. So it was this is before Cypress Hill was Cypress Hill.
Yeah.
Crazy show.
That's crazy. And that's funny because you mentioned that, and it kind of ties in of how you met those different people to have them in the 1992 opening of the store.
Yeah.
Right? You have Organized Confusion there, Fushnikins, UMCs. And when I found that out in my research, I'm like, wait a minute. How the hell you pull that off at 20 years old? But now you just explained. You met them before that at the concert.
Yeah.
So tell me about the first opening, the 672 Yonge Street main first store. Like, I'm opening my first store, fam.
Nerve-wracking. Absolutely nerve-wracking. I think we blew up too quick. And it was just like lights, camera, action from the very first day. Yeah, because the
CP24 and everywhere, City TV, everybody was there. Holy.
It was just, whoa. You know what I mean? And everybody's eyes were in shock because when they saw our clothes and I remember like our clothes were kind of coming in on the hour as we were opening. So we're just putting it up and people actually buying it.
Yeah.
You know. And
so you're saying people are buying them as they're going on the rack?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like, so it was very, very, a very blessed moment, I could say, the first store, but more nervous and scared, you know, not knowing what you're heading into or if anybody's going to embrace it or like it, or, you know, and just having these major artists at the time, like rocking with you and wearing it, and believing in you, like you're some kind of big influence, and you're like, yo, I'm like, we're just trying to find ourselves at that time. So being young, immature, very immature, and not really, I should say, as business minded as I am now. You know what I mean? I was more about like just hanging with the cool guys, like or the like these are like who I aspire to be around.
Yeah.
These are the rappers that I'm a fan of their music. So it was more about like just being around artists and them really vibing and trying to put me onto my path, and me just trying to stay, you know what I'm saying? Like just trying to be me at the same time. I wasn't trying to let this, let's say, new popularity get me out of my head frame. So there's a lot of times trying to stay humble or stay true to the ground, but it will get you.
Because back then, you got to remember, over here in Toronto, fam, it's not normal, especially in the early 90s, to be connected with so many American rappers.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be connected with the, you know, with all due respect, the locals, right?
Shout out Maestro.
Yeah.
And
because we have legendary locals.
Yes.
But they're still, you can still see them around, right? Where like these guys are coming in town and we're only getting to see them on TV.
Yes.
Right? You're hanging and they're like, yo, G, what up? That's my homie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, it's a different type of vibe. It's not easy to just ground yourself.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And, you know, I think the streets will get you grounded real quick if you know, you really are from like how we're from the streets of Toronto. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, you see a lot of things, you experience a lot of things, and it just keeps you grounded. You know what I'm saying? In your world that you've created. You know what I'm saying?
Did you get any like pushback from like other clothing companies that had already started at the time? Because at the time, like I know Cross Colors that started like around 89 or something like that. Carl Kanai was around that same time too, 1990.
We're all, believe it or not, we all know about each other, right? Like, so everybody, like whether in the States or anywhere else in the world, when it comes to this like urban or streetwear or actual cultural aspect of it, we all know about each other. You know what I'm saying? And so to answer your question, there was more rooted in Toronto, right? So call no names, but it was like very much, and I feel it was just our own people doing it to us. And that was like, you know, what I call self-hate, where, you know, each one's watching the next one, right? And when we're watching each other and competing with each other, trying to be supreme, the other man on the other side is watching us and studying us being supreme. Right? So that's what happens if you get caught up in this, you know what I mean, clothing war. So we don't partake in anything of that nature at this time in our career. We just show love to everybody, and you do what you do, we keep doing what we do. Yeah,
man, everybody has a lane.
Yeah, of course.
And as time started to progress and, you know, the clothing line started to grow, people are hollering at you, yo, we need clothing. You start getting calls from like the people from above the rim.
Yeah.
You weren't trying to hear them.
No. I wasn't trying to hear nobody.
Can you tell the people who haven't got to hear that story?
Yeah, right. So our headspace at that time is like, we got this whole industry pretty much on bag. So at the time, my homies, which weren't as big in the industry. They came to Toronto, and on the way to Toronto, one of them got arrested. So they basically bailed him out with all the money they had. So when they came to the store, K-Force, right? Sean K-Force, right? They all came, G, like, we ain't got no dough. And if you know me and you say you ain't got no money,
no dough.
Like, you gotta keep it stepping, right?
You got to go.
So they're like, yo, G, please, we gotta go back to New York with at least something from you, right? Just to like say that, yeah, we came to the city. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, you know what? Just take one each of whatever you want and leave. I don't even want to hear from you again, right? So when they got back to New York now, they're like, they call me, yo, G. And I'm like, no, not this again. You know what I mean? You already caught me once. You're not going to get me again about some free shit. They're like, yo, G, send some clothes. We're doing this movie, Pac. And I'm like, man, I don't even want to hear that. I don't want to hear that right now because y'all ain't talking no money again. And you're telling me about send now, right? After you guys came to my store and took all this stuff. And so they called me for at least a week, 2 weeks.
Wow.
Like daily. And I kept hanging up. And
banging it on them.
Yeah, like, because I don't want to hear about sending you no clothes. And they finally had this lady call me. And she was a producer. And I remember the American actor. Is this Gary? And I said, yes, it is. So who's this? She goes, my name is da-da-da. I'm from above the river. I heard the boys are telling me they're having a hard time with you. trying to get you to send some clothes to the movie. This is real. What do you need, money? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, yes. This is what I want to do. I want to send you a FedEx way bill so I don't even have to pay to send the clothes. So she sent me some like, and I remember I had to go to this next office to get my faxes at the time. So I'm getting this paper printout fax of the way bill. And I remember saying to my staff at the time, yo, send them that. I don't like that. Like, so send them stuff like let's just get this what they want now because they talked about some movie. Like I'm like, yeah, whatever. They sent this lady BS.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
you still weren't believing it.
Yeah, I wasn't believing it. Like I was like, they just came up with some way to get some free clothes out of me. And next thing you know, from Mos Def is telling me, I remember Mos is calling me, yo, G, Pac is wearing your shit. And I'm like, what? He's like, Pac is wearing your shit. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, on this movie, right? Pac is wearing your gear. Like, and he's like in it, yo. Like it. And then I remember my homies presented it to Tupac. And Pac, like there's other brands there and they're trying to give Pac their clothes. Yeah. And he's like, And then he saw mine and he looked at it and he goes, is he black? My homies go, yeah, she's black. Come on. And Pac put it on.
Right away.
And here we are now.
He became Birdie in Above the Rim. The infamous scene when he gets up off the benches. Holy. When you seen it, and I doubt you seen it like on a DVD first. You probably seen it on the silver screen.
Yeah. That was
what was that feeling like, bro?
My heart, like, really started beating. And I just felt like this overwhelming, like, kind of like perspiration, it's like out of body experience. It was totally like something I can't really describe. The only other time I felt is with Drake. When Drake did it. You know, it's like so surreal to see it, like your product on such a big screen.
Like 30 feet tall, bro. Like,
and hearing people in the audience saying that's 100 miles, 100, and you know, people, so much love for the city. You know what I mean? And you know, it's just humbling. That's the best way to describe it. Whereas you know, there's a God. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's real.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's a blessed experience right there, right? And you know, you got gear with Pac, or Pac's wearing your gear on the big screen. And now you got man's like Biggie from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You go to link with him.
Yeah.
That's the ops though.
Yeah.
Right?
I was so, I remember Biggie just walked into my store. Just out of nowhere.
You're like, oh shit, that's the ops.
Yeah. No, I was nervous. I was mad nervous. So I was like, yo, is he gonna beat me up? Like for real, like Tupac is wearing my clothes and everybody know about this beef right now.
Yeah.
And I remember Biggie and Lil C's coming in the store. And I'm nervous like crazy. And a couple of my peoples are there. And Biggie goes, yo, G, what up, man? And I'm like, yo, I thought it was gonna be some kind of issue. He's like, nah, G, love you, bro. And I'm like, for real? And he goes, yo, I'm a fan of your brand. And that was the very first person to ever tell me that they were a fan. I never heard that like in my whole career where like I was confused. I was like, you're Biggie and you're telling me you're a fan of my brand? And I was like, I'm a fan of you.
Yeah.
I'm a bigger fan of you. He's like, no, G. And he was the one that kind of put me on to like how in which my brand was being perceived in the States. He's like, everybody that's famous, where's your brand?
Yeah.
And rocks with your shit. And I'm like, for real? And he's like, yeah, G. So it was like just reasoning with Biggie where I got a little bit more put onto game or put onto the knowledge of what we were doing from Toronto for the States. You know what I'm saying? And saying, wow, look, we're from Toronto and, you know, this is a legend already. And he's telling me the things that we're doing from Toronto for the music culture in America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah. This is Toronto, baby. This is Toronto. Like, it was all about representing where I was from. You know what I mean? Because everybody was trying to claim us being from America. Like, we were an American brand.
Yeah, they didn't know.
Right. And so we hence started making Canada and putting Canada on our Toronto, on our clothing. Because we wanted people to differentiate that, no, we're not from New York. No, we're not from LA. We're from Toronto.
Yeah.
And really trying to represent for the city. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So hence why you see that now.
That's dope, man. That's dope. R.I.P. B.I.G.
Yeah,
man.
Rest in peace, Pac. Rest in peace, Guru. ODB. Big L.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are gone. Fife.
Yeah.
Freaky Ta from Lost Boys. Like, all these beautiful beings have put us on and showed us a lot of love and respect. So we're here representing them now as we're going through being this brand. There's a lot of people that we got to salute for, and Andre Harrell, the late great Andre Harrell.
Yes.
Like, so much love and respect to these people for aiding in my career and, you know, giving me, when they were on a big platform, putting me on that same platform.
Yeah.
You know, so much love.
Yeah, man. R.I.P. and God bless the dead to all, and condolences to all of their families. And, you know, one of the people that you mentioned in that list there was the late, great ODB, right?
Yes.
Tell me about the Fangs story.
Yeah, I remember the first time, like, you're telling me about some guy named ODB from Wu-Tang gonna come to your store, G, and I'm like, and they're like, he's a bit crazy, a little wild. I'm like, yeah, man, I've seen, like, everybody now, so who's this ODB guy? So I remember going outside and he's coming up to me, and he had this big Dracula effect, and I was like, yo, is he gonna bite me or something? Like, I'm like, yo, stay away from me. Yeah. And then he comes and he gives me a big hug. He's like, yo, G, you good? And one of the, like, him, Biggie, there's certain artists that would just really build and check in with me. You know what I'm saying? More than like, yo, I just want to get some clothes, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we went through where we peeped the real ones next to the ones that were just around us because it was part of the whole thing of being an artist, they felt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
they were too cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we got ones like ODB, where intimate moments over different periods of time, where he's always checking in with me, saying, "Yo, G, you all right? Everything good? You maintaining?" And I know the grind's hard, kid. Like, you know, and showing love. And so why I always, you know, mention him and represent him, because he's one of those real ones that really took the time, like Biggie and, you know, a lot of them that have shown me real love, you know what I'm saying? And took it beyond just the clothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They took it to like, yo, we're black men, or we're in this industry, and we're all trying to push. Let's help each other, and let's make sure we take care of each other. Yeah.
It's like Biggie said, show love is the Brooklyn way. You know what I'm saying?
Shit.
And even like, before I get to some of the other stuff that I have on the page, like you mentioned so many, actually, distribution. I want to talk about that quick fast.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you know, to be able to get your clothing around to all of these different stores, you know, to end up in like Dr. J's and all those types of places, like, there had to be a process, right?
Yeah, it was Source magazine. We were featured so many times. You guys look at the old Source magazines, that they even drew characters of like their cartoons in our clothing. So we had this from in the 90s, like at the Source magazine, Vibe magazine, like Word Up magazine. Like they were doing features on us. They were showing our clothing. So a lot of the distribution came through the magazines, because remember, there's no internet.
Yes.
There's no TikToks or whatever you want to call it, right? To have a platform. So
you can't just post it up on your social media page and be like, this is what my clothing looks like.
So, and to get into the Source was not no easy feat. And I remember many times going to New York and just being up in the Source office and saying, yo, you gotta put us on and like represent 100 miles and, you know, and them showing a lot of respect and love and putting us on to the fact that then we got distribution deals and, you know, different, like we were all over the States at a very, very early age and not really knowing the full aspect of the business back then, right? And so we more or less was just like trying to be notarized as a Toronto designers.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of really what my my attitude was. It was more just to be like representing Toronto. Right? So I kind of had this attitude where coming from Toronto, I felt like we had to like prove more.
Yeah.
Than the brands that were already there. You know what I mean? Because they're getting the automatics because they put NYC or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're coming like saying Toronto.
Yeah.
So we had to like push a little harder. You know what I'm saying? Because back then, I'll be honest, Toronto was not recognized. They used to ask me, y'all live in igloos?
Oh
right?
man, I remember that. Yeah.
Y'all live in igloos and like, man, I ain't coming to Canada or Toronto. There's too much snow over there. Like, and I'm like, what are you talking about, man?
It's summertime right now, bro.
Yeah. And you know, them just being not knowing of Toronto. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, come over. And that's how, you know, like DJ Hooker and Don, like rest in peace, Don, but like all these people started coming over.
Yeah.
And really plugging into Toronto. Kevin Weeks, you know what I mean? Like these are like legendary names. He worked for Flavor Unit, right? So like Naughty and them, you know, like all these people that I've rocked with. So, you know, they're the ones that were helping this Toronto to New York to the rest of the world bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And you even mentioned with the Toronto scene not being really budding like that at the time.
No. Not at all.
But like, were you clothing any of the Toronto artists on the way up?
Yeah, Maestro, Dream Warriors, Mishi, HDV at the time.
The pimp of the microphone.
Shout out H. Rumble and Strong.
Yes.
There's so many. Like, so we were representing on the Toronto scene at the same, Farley Flex.
Yes, Farley Flex.
Yeah, man, Farley Flex. Like if you look at some, I think it's called Bring the Noise. You'll see Farley wearing us back then, and the kids from Woolbert. Like there's Danny Yo and all them, like Socrates, like all of them have built with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we've been an intricate part in the Toronto artists also.
Yeah.
Not just the States.
And even like with that being said, right? We have the biggest artist in the world come from Toronto.
Yeah.
He's rocking it right there in the cutout, right?
For real.
So when did that like link up start? Like
that started say mid 2000s, around there. We were linking up at the barbershop. And it's a funny story, and I don't even know if he remembers that he opened up for us when we did Urbanology. They did like a talent showcase.
Man said Urbanology.
Yeah,
Holy
Urbanology.
shit.
Yeah, and he was the opening act. And I remember I'm getting prepared like as the follow-up act, right, to come out. And I remember him doing this T-Dot song, and I remember hearing it on Early Flow, and I'm like, yo, I love that song. Mm-hmm. Who is that guy? Who are these guys doing this? And so I heard the song, like him doing the song when I'm like getting ready to do the get the models ready and all that shit to do the walkouts. And I'm like saying to one of my assistants, yo, that's the dude I've been trying to get. Like, I need that dude because he's fire, right? And I remember trying to connect with him. He gave me his number. I'm like, because like I said to my assistant, I remember the show afterwards. I said, yo, go get that dude, being Aubrey Drake, and say, like, I want to connect with him. And, like, I want to like sponsor him. I want to do something because he's incredible. And this is like, he no cosign yet.
He wasn't even singing on that song. He was just rapping.
Rapping.
You seen it early.
Yeah. And I was like, yo, I really want. So I kept I had my assistant calling him. And I'm like, yo, no response, right? So finally, months later, she's like, no response. He ain't returning the call. So I'm like, what kind of disrespect? This man's is not like hollering back after. I'm really trying to put out for him.
Yeah.
And next time I see him is at the barbershop. So by this time now, I'm like, F you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm vexed because I've been trying like forever to get with you and I rate your music, but you're not responding.
Yeah.
So we see each other. I see Nico, and you know, and kind of like just kept hustling. Cause back then I'm hustling on the streets. I'm trying to just keep my bag going and keep the brand going. And so I kind of have this like, man, forget this guy. But my barber, which is his barber, right, was like, nah, you two gotta come together because now I'm getting his mixtapes and I'm like, yo, this kid's fire. Yeah. Like, he's straight fire. And then I remember the Trey Songz video and I'm like, yo, saying to him like, yo, holla at me, yo, like, represent. He's like, nah, he's doing this and that. So again, I felt like, what's really good here? Didn't know Toronto love, yo? Yeah. Like, what's really good? So, and that's when, when I really look back, you got to check him. He was a different artist than all the other artists that I've ever really intertwined with, because he was in his headspace. You know what I mean? In his vibe, where you got to respect it now, right? And so I remember my barber trying to bridge us again, but by that time now, he had said something, and it kind of to me was like I didn't know, or I felt like he was throwing shots.
In a song?
No, just in our one-on-one.
Okay.
And so I walked away, right, feeling a bit disappointed because I'm like, yo, if this guy only knew what I wanted to do, like, rock with him. And so for the longest, we kind of parted, didn't hear any, I seen his career flourish and, all the power to him. And, we're just saying, yo, we're going to keep doing 100 miles. We're just going to keep doing what we do. You know what I'm saying? It didn't really go the way that we wanted it to go, but, we're just going to keep rocking. Next thing you know, we see an online order. And then with the online order, there's a message saying, we're Drake's people and can we get it by this time? And I'm like, whatever, Drake's people. Like,
you never believe nobody when they holler at
I'm like, whatever, because because the way that it ended, I wouldn't think in a million years you want to rock with us. You know what I'm saying? So I remember just seeing it, and it just felt like Pac. It was like the whole surreal feeling, and people calling me now and online like blowing up and just saying, "Whoa, this is really happening again." You know what I mean? Like, this is for a second time this is happening to us. You know, and so with that said, you know, like I'm so grateful to Drake for what he's done, you know, for the brand and the whole OVO crew, and still want to collab. I really want to collab with, you know, OVO.
That'd be dope.
You know what I mean? For something I think special for the city. So, you know, this is the first time I'm really putting it out there. You know what I mean? And a lot of people have asked me, you know, how come you guys don't collaborate? So, you know, I'm just going to put it out there.
They watch.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah, they watch this, they'll see it. You know what I'm saying? Also, even like the whole Toronto, even connecting with OVO vibes, right? Because Lounge used to be where Oliver used to work.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the reasons, because as Damon has told me, like, he's been a huge fan of ours. And so sometimes being a fan can bring that kind of animosity towards us.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of people, I feel, have tried to like kind of not let it shine because of the platform we've already created for ourselves. And they think maybe in doing so, our platform would be even larger or, you know, to expand us. Because in all actuality, he was the one who was telling me, Drake was telling me, contact Oliver. And he's the one that really wasn't even returning my calls or even wanted to hear from us. So that kind of created that little difference. That's a
little bit of a wedge. Yeah. And because like for the people who don't know, you opened a second store over there on John Street, right on the corner of Queen.
Yeah.
Which eventually, once you left that store, Lounge, the legendary Lounge store took over.
You're right. So you see,
I do my homework, bro.
People were watching us and wanted to be us, and now so I need to say no more. And shout out to Damon. No disrespect, and this is just facts. Everything is facts.
I said it. I'm the one who said it. I did my homework.
Everything is facts. Everything
you know
is
what I'm
facts.
saying? Yeah, man. So, like, how was that store? Because now at the time you have 2 stores going on, right?
That store was like a store, whereas it was conceptual.
The John Street location, right? You have the 2 locations moving simultaneously.
Actually, we closed down the Young now, and we moved to John.
Okay, so you closed down the Young, you moved to John.
Yeah.
Right? The clothes are on like mad rappers all over the place. And then the social media age, as time starts to go on, starts to come in.
Yeah.
Right? Actually, you know, before I ask you that, were you ever trying to hit on Lauryn Hill?
Yeah. Yeah.
You were trying to get with Lauryn Hill a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I loved Lauryn. Like, she was...
Who didn't, bro?
Yeah, I love Lauryn Hill. So, like, I didn't know she was even with Clef at the time. And I was just like, yo, Lauryn, I used to just, like, she gave me her number, and I just remember every day calling her, and I'm like, Lauryn, you know what this is? And she goes, it's Gary. I said, how do you know? You just called me yesterday. And I'm like, love you. You know what I mean? And then you know, we just had this, like, ongoing where it's always would shout out Lauryn Hill. You know what I'm saying? And so they wore us in concert, like full 100 miles, the whole Fugees. Yeah, like that with Ben Harper and the Disposable Souls of Hypocrisy, something like that. Back then, like,
wow.
Yeah, man, these guys legendary. You know what I mean? I remember Wyclef coming out and doing No Woman, No Cry, wearing one of our jackets that we had made at the time. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's dope, man. So, like, to fast forward a bit, right, with the social media age coming in, right? And, like, you know, and I'm not talking about, like, where we are now. I'm talking about, like, as it started to come in with Instagram starting to take over, you know, 2015, 2016, all those times, right? How were you able to, like, integrate into that social media scene, or was it difficult, man?
It was kind of difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And we're I hate to put it, but we're classic. I hate the word old school. So we're classic. So when you're classic, you're used to doing things on a classical level.
Yeah.
Right. And now you got integration, right? And so we had to integrate with it and take steps back, right? And look at ourselves like from a brand of nothing, trying to be something again on a different platform.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though we had our accolades, we're new to these platforms. And so, you know, you have to do like yourself research and knowing it and trying to understand it and still developing that understanding of it, right? So it was like a rebirth, right? And then what we found was a worldwide piece to our brand. We never saw in a million years. We didn't know that we had fans in Germany. We didn't know we had fans in Austria, Australia, and they're going in our DM box and saying, we're fans of yours. And we're like, fan of Toronto brand, man? Like, is this unreal? And they've been trying to find us for how many years until we came on this platform, they finally could find us.
Yeah.
Right? And then seeing all these Tupac enthused social media platforms that have embraced us because of our legacy with Tupac, right? So getting all this like new information and a new platform is something that like we didn't envision, you know what I mean, in a million years as a brand. So it's an everyday learning and still learning because now it's TikTok. You know what I mean? Whichever one comes after that.
Yeah.
Right? But just seeing how in which our brand has been able to come global.
Yeah.
Right? From Toronto and have like a real global presence, right? Where we've shipped a lot of our merchandise now to like so many places. Like I would never envision like France. You know what I mean? Like if I like people in France, UK, England, like, you know, Ireland.
Yeah.
You know, like getting orders from like, you're like, are you, you know, and so all of the states, everywhere in America you can think of, you know, people ordering, you know, something from Toronto.
Yeah. You see, the thing is also the beauty in that is because the whole online presence that you guys can now have, there's all these different countries that are real hip hop heads.
Yes.
Like, they love, especially like the Renaissance times, they love that. They eat that shit up. So now to be able to, this is where I can get the stuff that Tupac was wearing. Oh, that I can get the hoodie that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. It's crazy. It is so crazy. And then with Drake doing it, it was even more of a research.
Like, whoa, where can I get it? You know what I'm saying? So once that happened, and like you're able to have a .com and all that type of stuff.
100milesbrand.com, 100milesbrand.com. The plug.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, the plug.
That was the alley-oop.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
The
plug. What's one thing that you know now that you wish you knew in your young 20s running the 100 Miles brand?
How to stay humble. How to stay not letting, you know, your ego get in the way of business. That's, I think, the biggest thing. And understanding there's a bigger person that controls everything, being the creator. Like, that's what I could tell anybody, you know, trying to do this. You know what I mean? Is just leave your ego at the door. You know what I mean? Leave all that like pride. You know, you can be proud of yourself, but don't be like where you can't hear or listen or learn.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And back then, you know, I always used to tell people I'm a 20-year-old in a 60-year-old's body. Like I felt I knew as much about what I was doing, and I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know a damn thing. We were just emulating or trying, like back then. And now, like I make the statement, it's now we're trying, right? Because it's now that, we're at a mature part of the career and a more understanding of our role in, the history, and being able to handle it in a more respectable, mature way, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing I could really say I would change.
Okay. And for young up-and-coming fashion designers, people who are trying to start their clothing lines and stuff like that, can you bestow some jewels on the babies on what they should look out for when starting up a clothing line?
Things you got to definitely do. I'll tell everybody, have a lawyer and an accountant. The two things. Control your bag, right? Because if you blow, you want to be able to control your money and how in which you spend and invest it in and do things on a wise level. We blew up very early and very fast. So we had money before people had new money.
Yeah.
Real shit. Like, we had lots of it. And sometimes, like, I won't erase my past. It's just, you get a lot of friends or so-called friends, because everybody want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Because of that. So keep your circle very, very tight. Preferably your family or your close friends. Leave your ego. Another thing I'd say is study business, right? So as much as you want to be a designer and everything, you got to know business, right? And really understand business, right? And don't do it just for money. Do not do it if you don't believe in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do it because you love it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I see a lot of everybody trying to be clothing designers or clothing brands now, and that's all good, right? But we look at it, are you going to be doing this 10, 15 years from now? Are you going to be doing it 20 years from now? Or are you just chasing a quick bag that you think you can make off of, like, the people around you or the social media platform?
Yeah.
Right? And we see it every day. And like, we know the good ones from the ones that are just, you know what I'm saying? Let's put it that way. Because I look at everything. You know what I'm saying? And so for us, we just try to stay true to our roots and true to our design concept. And that's coming out with hardcore, high fashion, banging shit. You know what I'm saying? Like we like, our energy and our vibe for our clothing is just like, I think, different level. Right. And like my homie was saying to me yesterday, he said, "Gee, I just checked it. There's levels to this shit."
Levels to this shit.
Yeah. And it's real. There is levels to this. And so, when you think you can come on this level, you know what I'm saying? Salute you, because it's a lot of steps we've taken to be here. You know what I'm saying? And so there's levels to this shit.
Nah, man. Thank you for that, man. What's next for 100 Miles? What's next for G? You know what I'm saying?
Vacation.
Vacation?
Vacation. Opening this store was very exhausting, and still work in progress. It's something I never envisioned 30 years later.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I got out of retail, I'm like, I ain't never going back into retail. And here we are now with the store again in the beaches. And, everybody's like, why did you choose the beaches? Why are you here? And because there is nothing like us anywhere.
Yeah.
So we could go anywhere and show up, because we're just this unique brand. You know what I'm saying? And so whether we're downtown, uptown, we're going to be 100 miles. So the nice thing for me is just taking this thing to where it needs to be, and that's at the top, right? Like, that's really what my goal is with this brand, is just to let people recognize that a lot of these designers that you see have really come off of our platforms that we created from the 90s. And so we intend to prove with not just our voices, but with our style and our concepts and with our fashion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That, it's not just a name. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot more to it.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find the clothing. If you want the people to be able to tap into you personally, you could do that too.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is G, otherwise known as Miles, from 100 Miles. And so to check me, hence I'm here at the store. I'm a real one, so you can come and meet me and come and build with me. 2359 Queen Street East in Toronto, otherwise the Beaches, otherwise AKA the Toronto Beverly Hills.
Hey, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what we calling it. But on the IG, 100 Miles Brand. So at 100 Miles Brand on Twitter, on Facebook at 100 MILES Brand. Our website, 100milesbrand.com. That's how you can connect with me. You know what I'm saying? And like, you can always shoot me an email through the website and I respond to everything, right? If not myself, my assistant, right? And shout out the team, you know what I'm saying? Everybody that, I shout out Ricky Dred again.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like, this is one of the real ones that really took the time out to come down, tap in on us and tap in on the history. And that's real hip hop love, you know what I'm saying, for the culture. So, salute my G right here.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Salute, salute, salute. And most of all, just salute everybody worldwide wearing 100 Miles Brand. Like, I love you guys, like, with my heart. Like, this thing here is not just about paper chasing or about the bag or whatever people want to call it. This is about us as a culture, us as not just clothing as part of the culture. This is dance. This is an expression of oneself. This is the music. This is entertainment. This is like everything in one nutshell.
Yeah.
So, we're representing it from the early 90s till now. So we're just going to keep pushing, the culture and pushing the realness of what it is to be part of this whole industry and being part of the world. You know what I mean? Peace, love, and unity.
Nah, man. I appreciate those words, man. And I appreciate you having me here, bro. This was an insightful conversation. We got to learn a lot about you, about the brand, about the history. And I feel that the audience out there will be able to catch some jewels from that. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you once again. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
100 Miles Clothing. We got another one in the can right here. I think this is episode 291. Big salute to everybody out there who was watching. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, all that good stuff. And for the people in the listening audience, salute to y'all. Another one in the vault. We are off of this. Deuces.
Go.
Wait, I got this camera going here.
Go.
So we're just finishing up an interview here. What do you think? How are you feeling about the interview?
Man, it was beautiful. It was something so different, something so real. It was like one-on-one. So you got the realness, you know what I mean? As opposed to something scripted or something versed, So I salute you for taking the time and God above for giving us the breath to just be able to connect and build and keep the culture going. You know what I'm saying? So again, just shout out Friday Ricky Dred and his whole team. My mans are doing it big and been doing it big. So salute yous for just keeping it real to the 100 brand, 100 Miles brand. Peace and love.